All right. Good morning, everybody. We left off. Today is Daf Yud Ches in Maseches Eruvin. We got to we finished the parak, the first parak. So now we got the first Mishnah of the second parak. So it says, Oisin Pasin Lebiros. As we discuss this case of passing the Biros, right? Biros is plural for be'er, right? Wells. So one is allowed to make boards for wells, as we discussed. Arba diyumdim nira kishmona. Basically, 4 diyumdim, 4 these like diyumdim are double boards or these L-shaped boards, as I mentioned in the past. Those of you have the art scroll diagram A. I don't know if you can see that. So these little, L-shaped boards. So there's 4 of them. They look like 8 because each one is like there's 2 sides, right? They make a right angle. Actually, there should be 8 boards, which look like 12. How so? 4 of these double boards in the corners, the L-shaped boards, exactly as Rabbi Yehuda, and then he also adds Varabah Pshutin, and also 4 straight boards that are in the middle. So those of you who have the art scroll, once again, diagram B, that would be a picture of that case. So he holds not just the corners, but you also have to have a board standing in between the corners. That is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Now, speaking of these boards, so Goivan Asar Tfachim, the heights of these boards have to at least be 10 Tfachim, the Reichvan Shisha, and the double boards have to be at least 6, so 3 and 3. We'll see that in the Gemara. The Avium Kolshu, and their thickness is any amount. Ubenehem, and between them, how much space can be between? In other words, you can't have them so far away, because if you have them so far away, you don't really, see the walls. It doesn't feel like it's enclosed. So how far do the boards have to be away from one another? Ubenehem, Kamali, Shtei Ravikos, Shalosh Bakar Divrei Meir. Says Rameir, 2 groups of 3 oxen. According, that's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. 2 groups of 3 oxen is approximately, as the Gemara will teach, 10 amos. So each one, I guess, is approximately 1.67 because you have 2 groups of 3, which is a total of 6, taking up 10 amos. All right. So if you have the 10 amos, less than 10 amos space or less in between the brackets or these boards in the corner, then it is okay. And Rabbi Yehuda Omer shel arba kshuros. No, they have to be 4. They have to be 4, so he holds that it can't just be 3 oxen, rather it's 4 oxen, it's a little larger. And says the Gemara, Kshuros Lomitaros, and they are tied, and they are not, I guess distance apart. So in other words, they're tied together, the oxen, so they're closer together, Lomitaros, and Achan is Nechnas V'achas Yaitses. So only enough room for one to go in, one to go out. And mutter lahakri lebe'er, and you want to go ahead and bring the brackets closer to the well and basically make the area smaller. You're allowed to put lebe'er ubavach de para reisha v'ruba b'fnim, as long as there's enough space for a cow or an ox, right, to have its head and most of its body on the inside, b'shais, and be able to drink from the well. And mutter laharchik also, you want to make a larger. Mutter laharchi kolshu, you can make as much as far apart as you want. Uvad shalyarbe b'pas. Now remember, if you make the brackets farther apart, then you're going to have to deal with the distance of, hey, now they're more than 10 amos away from each other. So what's a good way of avoiding that? You put a board in between. So every 9 amos, you put another stand-up board, which is 10 tvachim tall, and then another 9 amos. You do another one until you get to the other corner brackets. And this way, you're allowed to go ahead and surround the well by enlarging the area around it. As long as you have more boards. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad basis asayim. You can go unlimited amount only up until a basis asayim, or as we mentioned yesterday, we've been discussing a little bit about the area. The square footage area has to be basically 5,000 square amos. And Amrulo, and they said to him, Lo Amru basis asayim el gina karfef. No, that was only said regarding an area, let's say a garden or a karfef, or basically a hut that's out in the field, which is not something which is not used to live in. About imha yadir or sar or muksa chatz, or if it's something that people can do all their all their needs inside this area, then afilu beis chamishas kur, and afilu beis asara kur, and even if it's 5 or 10 beis kur, right, that is okay. In other words, even if it's very large, it's okay as long as it's used. It's a fully usable space. Then it's mutter. Mutter hachi kolshu, and you can go ahead and distance it as much as you want, as long as you don't have. You increase the boards, and that was.
Yoel, is this bore for fresh water to drink or to go to the bathroom? Is this a bathroom?
To drink. This is a well. This is a well which is used, right? A well to use, right? We'll soon see other bodies of water. We'll soon see in a minute. You're alluding to the Gemara. Let's see the Gemara. So lema mas nisin deloy kichanani. So now we're going to say, let's say the Mishnah doesn't go by a couple different opinions. We're going to suggest it, and most of them will be pushed off. So now, first one is lema mas nisin deloy kichanani. Let's say our Mishnah is not like Chananya. Why? What does Chananya say? How does right? The Tanya in the Bryce, it says oisin pasin labor v'chavel l'sheyara. You make boards for a bore, right? For a pit of water. Surround, you put boards around like this case, right? And these double boards. And the chavalim, and use ropes to go around for a caravan. The Chananya says chaval labor avaloy pasin. You can use the ropes for a pit, but you can't use these corner boards. So we see loy pasin. So we see when it comes to the water pits, right? You can't use boards. So we see that it's not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says you can use pasim for these wells, and over here it says you can't use the boards for these water pits. So Gemara says, no. Afilu tema chananya, bor lechud, be'er lechud. There's two different halachas. There's bor and be'er, right? A be'er is a well. A well is access to, fresh water underneath the ground. A pit is basically storage of rainwater. So therefore, since a pit can dry out, right? So therefore, since a pit can dry out, there's a concern that once the water dries out, people will still use, to remove remove stuff from the pit, and therefore it should not be enclosed, and there is no have to enclose it. But a well doesn't run out of water, so therefore maybe our Mishnah is different. Our Mishnah is talking about a well. A well, everybody holds you can put boards about, but a pit sometimes it has water, sometimes it might dry out. So therefore, Chananya says no, a pit you're not allowed to use, and therefore it's not a contradiction to say Chananya is the author of our Mishnah. And Igadami is a slightly different version. Midaloik Tani Chananya Aimer, by the fact that Chananya does not say Aisin Chaval Labor pass in the bear, right? Since he doesn't say, you can use ropes by a pit and boards by a well. It sounds like Chananya says there's no difference between a pit or a well, right? You can't chavel it in pasin lo. You can only use rope and not boards. So he says no. So and therefore, let's say the Mishnah is like a Chananya, because over there he seems to say only if you use a rope around the pit, and the pit is really the same as the well. So the guy says no. I feel tema Chananya. Even if you could say it's a Chananya, the might come at Tanakama. No, the reason why he didn't mention that you're allowed to go ahead and use boards around wells, why he didn't discuss the permissibility of using boards around wells, is because he was only talking about what the Tanakama did. The Tanakama, right, was talking about a pit, and therefore Chananya replied about a pit. He never addressed a well, but according to him, it very well could be that you can use these corner boards, these double corner boards, to surround a well, and therefore, according to this opinion, that Chananya just says just like it. Yeah.
But I'm totally lost. Is this for safety? What's the point of ropes or boards? Why do we have to guard this water source?
We're right. So we're talking about Shabbos, right? We're talking about carrying on Shabbos.
Back to Shabbos. Got it. Just carrying.
So, yeah. So we have to do. I'm good. Right. My bad. Sorry. Now, let's say the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Kiva. The Tanah we learn in the Mishnah, Echad be'er harabim ubor harabim ube'er hayachid. Right? They adjusted three things: a be'er of the public, right, which is a well, a public well, a bore or a public pit, or a private well. Oisin lepasim. You can do the when it says bas in the boards, you can use the double corner boards. Aval bor hayachid. But when it comes to a pit that's owned by Yachid, says Rabbi Kiva, you can only use real valid walls. You can't, in order to surround it, for Shabbos. You can't use these corner walls, which is a heter, because that doesn't cover a pit which is owned by a Yachid. Over here it says Katani Libiros. It says over here, for wells, by our mission it says biros. So you can make boards for biros. Biros in lebaros low. It says wells, yes, but pits, no. And we see, so according to Rabbi Akiva, right, all types of pits, he says pits of a rabbin, you're allowed to go ahead and use the pasin. And according to the Mishnah, you can't use walls, pasin, for any type of pits. So Rabbi Akiva says, no, Rabbi Akiva, bear mayim chayin, the psikale. No, when it comes to a well, since it's psikale, it's always the same. Loshna of the rabbin, loshna of the yachid. Simfer doesn't make a difference whether it's owned, it's privately or public. So Katani, therefore, our Mishnah says, okay, when it comes to be'er, when it comes to be'iros, right, any type of wells, whether it's privately owned or publicly owned, you could always use pasta. So therefore, listed that case. However, however, when it comes to a pit, right, which gathers water, the loip sikale, it's not always the same. In other words, if it's owned, if it's a public one, then it's mutter. If it's a private one, according to Rabbi Akiva, then it's usher. So therefore, like Tony, it therefore doesn't say it. And finally, Leimo masnis and Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. Let's say our Mishnah is not like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. The Tanan we learn in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba Imer ein oisin pasin elo lebe'er harabim bilvad. Right, you can only make boards for a public well. Vilu hacha, but in our case, our Mishnah says our Mishnah says you can make walls, right? These pasin, these double corner pasin for wells. Loisha the rabbim, loisha the yachid. Right? It doesn't seem like there's any sort of difference between whether it's public or private. So therefore, you can use it for a private one. So therefore, our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. So he says no. Afilu teim Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. My be'iros. What does it mean when it says wells? Pasi be'iros. Be'iros the alma means wells in general. It doesn't mean wells of both public and private. Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba would say no. It means just public wells. And now the question says my diyumdin. What is the lashon of diyumdin? Right? We said we make arba diyumdim, right? These 4 diyumdim. So what is diyumdim? Am Rabbi Yirmiyah, dio amudim, right? Dio means like dio, 2, right? 2, right? 2 amudim, 2 types of stands. So dio amudim, 2 stands, basically a double stand, a double wall. Now, dio, we'll skip that, the tudas, the little simon, fine. Tanan hasam, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kol hashisin pturin, all types of wild figs are pater from demai, because normally a demai is something that we don't trust the owner. The owner is not so meticulous in his mitzvah observance, and therefore he might be a little cheap and might not take away meiser, right? He doesn't take meiser because he doesn't want to give away his produce for free. He wants to make money. So therefore, if you buy produce from that person, we're not trusting that he took, and therefore you have to go back and take meiser again, right? That's called demai. Now, if it's these wild figs, since they're very cheap and it's not really a loss to the owner, then that is, you don't have to go ahead and take demai. You don't have to go ahead and take meiser again. Chutz min ha diufra, except for this type of fig called a diufra. And my diufra, amarula ilan oisa dio peiros b'shana. Right? It means a double season. It's a fruit basically that comes. It's twice a year that these figs grow. So therefore, it's called a diufra. So the reason I brought this in is once again the lashon of diu, right? Like diumdin is diu is double, which is like dio. Now, Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, dio parts of panim hayol Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon had basically 2 sides. He had a double face, right, front and back, and that's where Chav was, right? Shinamar, it says over there, the kadam tzarasani, it says front and back, I created them. Ksiv. And then it says, Vayiven Hashem esatzela. And then it says, Hashem created esatzela, right? So Hashem created the side, and Rav Shmuel Chad Omar Parsuf. One says basically Chava came from the Parsuf from the double side. Chad Omar Zonav. And the other one said basically that Adam Harishon had a tail, and basically the tail was removed, and Chava was created from the tail. So now we're going to get into this. I understand one says he was basically double-sided. This is front and back, right? Yeah, he created him. What does it mean front and back he created him? So Gemara says, no, it doesn't mean front and back that he created him. Rather, it means because Rabbi Yami, what does it mean? It means achor means last. Adam Rishon was created last. The kadam lepranios, but he was first when it came to punishments. So Gemara says, wait, what type of punishment? So I understand. Okay, he was the last when it comes to being created. He was only created on Erev Shabbos. But that he was the first one to be punished. What are you referring to? If it's the curse after they ate from the the what's called the Eitz right the Eitz Chaim, right? So he said over there, if he ate from that tree he was cursed not to, right? Ha, but chilin is kal, right? Nachash, right? What do you mean? The snake was cursed first. He wasn't the first one to be cursed. The snake was cursed first. Then Chava was cursed. Then Adam Rishon was cursed. So Ella rather means, when was he the first punished? Lamabel, when it came to the floodwaters. The Chesiv says over there, Vayimach es kol hayikum al sher al pnei ha'adama mi adam bi'ad behim. It says, right, and he wiped out all of the creation from man until animals. So you see, man was punished first by the from the Mabel. Now,
is that lashon of diyu referred to Adam, like because it was two-sided? Do they say that? I can't read the Hebrew, but the same lashon you're talking about diyu, the double, is that referred to Adam?
I think they got. I don't think that what his name is from there, right? But I think from Adam, like Adamah, from the ground. But dio is more that we're discussing it because dio means that he had a double face, right? The front and the back. So that's why that's the reason why we bring this discussion, is because we're talking about doubles, right? The double wall, right? The fig that grew in 2 seasons, and now Adam Rishon had dio. But I don't think that the Adam came from the word dio. Now, I understand that according to Pinchas, he came from parts of he was two-sided. Vayetzer. It says Vayetzer, and he created with 2 yuds, right? 2 yuds. So now he created the front and he created the back. Elaman Demerzona, but according to them, that he created just Adam with a tail, Samai Vayetzer. What is it? Why the 2 yuds? So the Gemara says no, because Rishon and Pazi, like Rishon and Pazi, Oilo mi Yitzri, Oilo mi Yitzri, right? What was to me from my Yetzer? Right, person suffers from his yetzer, right? He fights it all the time. And oila mi yitzri, and woe is to me from my creator, because when he does fall to his yetzahara, then he will be punished. So therefore, the 2 yuds are his yetzer and his yetzer, right? His yetzahara and his yetzer is his creator. Now, it works well according to the who holds that he was a double-sided Hein Dechsiv, Zachar ben Akeva Baram, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu created male and female. Elaman Demer Zana, but if you say Kadosh Baruch Hu created man and a tail, Samai Zachar ben Akeva Baram, what does it mean that he created man, male and female? So the Gemara says no. The Rabbi Yavo Rami Ksiv, he has 2 psukim. It says one pasuk says Zachar ben Akeva Baram, male and female he created. Ksiv, and it says B'Tselem Elokim bara oso, right? In the image of God, Hashem created him, right? Him, Adam Rishon, sounds like one person, right? One person, not 2. So our answers. So how's Rabbi Yavo answer? So B'Tchila also b'Machshava lebara Shnaim. In the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu thought to go ahead and created 2. However, and ultimately, v'Soif lo nivra ela echad. Rather, in the end, he only created Adam Rishon with the tail. And Bishlam Laman Demer parts of, I understand according to the opinion who holds that he was created Adam with 2 sides, right? Right, that he sealed up, he fixed up the flesh from under him. El Laman Demer Zana, but according to he had to fix up the flesh, right? It was Samai Vayizkor, answer is Basar Tachtana, right? From the area, I guess, where the tail was removed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to go basically and seal him off there. And Amar Azivri Temer Rav Yirmi veTemer Rav Nachum Bar Yitzchak Lo Yinitzacha El Makam Chazach. Excuse me. So he says, so it wasn't being Basar Tachtana. So he says only to teach you that which was fixed was the area that was cut. That was the I guess that was the Basar Tachtana. Now, Bishlam Laman Demer Zonov, according to the Pinu, holds that he was created with a tail and she was created from there. Vayiven says that Kodesh Baruch, and he built her. Notice he built Chava. Chava had to be built, right, from the tail, right? A tail is not another human, so a human had to be built from there. So it makes sense. Elaman Demer Partsuf, but it says Partsuf. My Vayiven, he didn't have to go ahead and create Chava. He just had to separate Chava from Adam. So the answer is no. The Darish Rabbi Shimon Menasya said, Pasuk says Vayiven Hashem Elokim Esat Selah. So he said he created from the tzela, from the side, Melamed, Shekila, the Lashon, so Shekila, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'chava, V'hiviyah L'adam Rishon. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, basically, Shekila, he braided her hair, he made her beautiful chava for Adam Rishon, Shechem B'derech HaYam, Karin L'Kaliyasa, B'nyasa. So it says because they call, I guess, out in the seas, they call basically a braid binyasa. So it says Vayivan Hashem means like, and Hashem braided, he braided her, he beautified her for Adam Arisha. And Amar Rav Chizda, Hashem say Masisa Tana, we learn over there Melamed Shabana Hakadosh Baruch Hu Lechava Kabinyan. What does it mean? Vayivan, that Hakadosh Baruch Hu made her like a binyan, like a house, right? Built her like a house. What does that mean? Oitzer, like a base oitzer, like something which is stores. Sama oitzer is just like a storehouse is something which is wide on the bottom and then narrow on top. Because they have the kabos, the pears in order to hold the fruits. Avisha, so to a woman, rachla milamata, because she's wider at the bottom. Right, she's birthing hips, right? Then she's narrow on top. Because they have the kabos of in order to go ahead and basically be able to give birth. Vayivel el ha'adam, and then he brought her to Adam Arisha. He basically became a groomsman, right, for Adam Arisha. So mikan, from here we see that God shiyasa shishban is the cotton, right? A person should, even though he's a much greater in stature, he should still be a groomsman, right, for a cotton to help someone who's lower than him to go ahead. Help him get married, and he should not be concerned that nothing will bad for him. He's not lowering himself, right? It's a big mitzvah to go ahead and help someone to go ahead and get married. Well, the man, and according to the opinion who holds that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them, basically Adam and Chava together two-sided. Which one was created first? Right? Adam Rishon, he must have been created first, and he was the front. The Tanya we learn in Rish. So why do you say that? Because a man should not walk behind a woman, b'derech, and the path. He walks behind her, right? He'll have bad thoughts. And even if it's his wife, and he's done a gesher, and let's say he's walking behind a woman on a bridge, he's moved to the side, he moved to the sides and not walk behind her. A person's walking behind a woman in a river, right, where the clothes get wet. He does not have a portion in the world to come. Fine, two dots. Hamaratza, also speaking of which, Hamaratza Ma'az Leisha, Miyado, Liyada, or Miyada, Liyada, a person basically who's counting out money with a woman, right, from his hand to her hand to his hand. Why is he doing it there? Bishul Shistakel, but in order that he should go ahead and basically have dealings with her more. Even if he's as great as Moshe Rabbeinu, who received the Torah from Har Sinai, he will not be clean from the din of Gehenna. About him, he says, Yad liyad lo yinakeh ra, right? From hand to hand, he will not be clean of evil. Lo yinakeh medina shel Gehenna means that he will not be safe from the din of Gehenna. And Amar Rav Nachman Manoach, speaking of people walking behind women, so Manoach, he must have been an Amaretz. Why? Shnei as the pasuk says over there, in Shotim it says, Vayakam vayelech Manoach achrei ishto, right? And Manoach went after his wife. He went after his wife. Notice he walked behind his wife. We said a person shouldn't walk after a woman, even his wife, because then he'll get perhaps evil thoughts. So Master Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, Elamiat, Gabi Elkanah. What about Elkanah? That Elkanah went after his wife. Hachinami, you're going to say Elkanah was bad. We know that's not true, right? V'gabi Elisha, also Elisha, and he went after her, his wife. So Hachinami, right? You're going to say over here that he was also an Amaretz. Ella achrei devra v'yatzasa, right? Rather, it doesn't mean they walked after her. It means they went after her, meaning they spoke and they gave advice and they followed their wife's advice. So Hachinami saw it over here, maybe by Manoach. Maybe he doesn't mean he physically walked behind his wife. Rather, he meant he followed the wise advice of his wife. And Amar Rav Ashi, and that what you said, Manoach, if you walk behind his wife, is he never learned a pasuk in Bereshis, because the pasuk says, and then Rivka, she went with Eliezer back to the house, right, of Avram Avinu, and she walked behind the man. So you see that Eliezer didn't walk behind her, right? It wasn't ladies first. Rather, the man walked first, and the woman was behind him. Fine. And Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ari, better to walk behind a lion, right? There's physical danger of Isha, not behind a woman, because then perhaps we'll have inappropriate thoughts. And Isha, however, it's better to walk behind a woman. Do not walk after an idol worshiper, because perhaps you'll follow him in idol worship. And it's better to follow idol worship. Better to walk after an idol worshiper than to walk behind a shul as it's davening, because basically you're turning away from Hashem, and that is even worse then you're a kafir. You disapprove of all types of serving Hashem. Right? That he's standing behind the base, behind the shul and not going in. And now another statement of Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar: right? All those years that Adam Rishon, before he began to have children, I believe he was at the age of 130. Right before those years, before he had different, not children, but not humans, right? He had different types of demons and other types of shadim and things that spirits that were born from him. Why? Why do you say that? The pasuk says, and it was Adam Rishon was 130 years. And he gave birth in his image, and it was similar to him. Confirm here that he did give birth to other things. They just weren't in his image. They weren't human forms. They were other types of forms, like these other demons or spirits. He was a chassid gadol and since he saw that death was coming to the world because of him, he sat in a fast for 130 years. And he separated from his wife. He was not with her. Right, he could not have had any children with her. 130 years. He also wore leaves from figs on his body for 130 years. So how could he go ahead and produce these other spirits? So Gemara answers, no. Perhaps he had zera. He had seed from that came from him. Against his will, against his against his power, and therefore those demons, whatever that means, were born from him. Right? We only say mikzas, we only say part of praise of a person in front of him. However, right? But we give him full praise, not in front of him. Mikzas shiva b'fanav. Where do we see the given portion? It says over there by Nach ki oischa ra'isi tzadik lefanai bedor hazeh. Right? So he said, because I see when he's talking to Noach that you're a tzaddik, in this generation. Right? And kulo shulafanav, however, full praise now in front of the chsiv, Noach ish tzaddik tamim haya b'doraisa. Then it says, then it calls him a pure tzaddik tamim, a pure complete. No, that wasn't said to Noach, rather that was said about Noach, and therefore, since it wasn't said to him, he got the full praise. In another statement by Rabbi Yirmiyah ben Elazar, and behold, there was an olive branch in the dove's mouth that was sent out to the teva. Somebody the Yonah said, why did he bring an olive branch? Let at least my food can even be bitter. Let it be bitter as long as I only depend on you. But however, I do not want to depend on man. Right? Man is not good. Right? Even if you make my food, sweet as honey, right? And make me, depend on people. In other words, I'd rather have bitter food and depend on you, Kodesh Baruch Hu, than have sweet, good tasting food and rely on man. It says over here tarif. It says over here tarif. In other words, it says they had the zayd tarif. It says over there. Hachifani lechem choiki, right? It says over there that referring to bread. So you see that was mean teref. That's the comparison. It was rather have my bread from you, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and then bread from man. And finally, we'll just do one more statement. Any house that you can hear divrei Torah at night, shuv eina nechrav, it will not be destroyed. As it says. V'lo Amar Ayeh Haloki Oisi Noisein Zmiros B'Layla. They won't say right where is the God that have the different songs at night, because there'll be songs at night and therefore there won't be any sort of destruction. All right, we'll stop here. All right, we went. All right, we got there. We got 30 minutes. All right, shkoyach everybody. So tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, will continue from here, and everybody have a wonderful day.